My girlfriend of 10 months just said she wishes her ex was here instead of me during a crisis. I am questioning everything. 3 nights ago, at 1 a.m. in our hotel room, I stared at the ceiling trying to process what had just happened between me and my girlfriend. I kept replaying the moment in my head, and each time it felt worse. I am Caleb, 30. Work as a project manager for a construction company in Denver. Been dating Lydia for about 10 months now. She is 28. Works in graphic design. And when things are good between us, they are really good. But lately, I have been starting to notice some patterns that are making me uncomfortable. This weekend, we decided to drive up to Aspen for a little getaway. Nothing fancy, just a chance to get out of the city and spend some quality time together. Lydia had been stressed about work, and I thought a change of scenery might help. The drive up was fine. Normal conversation, music, the usual road trip stuff. But about an hour outside of Denver, we hit construction and got detoured onto some back mountain roads. No big deal at first. The GPS was rerouting us, and it was actually kind of scenic. Then the GPS lost signal. We were on this winding mountain road with no cell service, no signs, and no clear idea of which direction to go. Still not the end of the world. I figured we had just pick a direction and eventually hit a main road or find someone to ask for directions. But Lydia immediately started getting anxious and frustrated. "This is exactly the kind of thing I hate," she said. "We are completely lost, and it is going to ruin our whole weekend." I tried to reassure her that we would figure it out, that it might even be an adventure. But she was spiraling into one of her moods where everything feels catastrophic. We drove for another 20 minutes without seeing any signs of civilization. Lydia was getting more agitated by the minute, making comments about how this never would have happened if we had taken a different route, how I should have checked the road conditions before we left, how she knew this trip was a mistake. Then we came around a curve and saw that a tree had fallen across the road, completely blocking our path. We had to turn around and backtrack, which meant we were even more lost than before. That is when Lydia said it. "God, I wish Adrian was here instead of you right now. He would never have let this happen. He always had backup plans for everything." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually felt my chest tighten and my hands grip the steering wheel harder. Adrian Cross, her ex-boyfriend of 3 years who she dated before me. The guy who apparently was perfect at everything, according to the stories I had been hearing for 10 months. I didn't say anything at first, just kept driving, trying to process what she had just said. My girlfriend, sitting next to me while I am trying to solve a problem and help us both, just told me she wished another man was there instead of me. I pulled over to the side of the road and put the car in park. "What did you just say?" I asked. "What do you mean? You just said you wish your ex-boyfriend was here instead of me." She looked confused for a second, then defensive. "That is not what I said." "Yes, it is. You said, 'I wish Adrian was here right now. He would never have let this happen.'" I didn't mean it like that. I was just stressed and saying stupid things, but the damage was done. As we sat there on the side of that mountain road, I realized this wasn't the first time she had compared me to Adrian. It was just the most direct and hurtful. Over the past few months, I had been hearing his name more and more. Adrian used to take me to this restaurant. Adrian was really good at fixing things. Adrian and I went to this place once, always in the context of him being better at something than me, or doing something I hadn't thought to do. I had been telling myself it was normal for people to reference their past relationships occasionally, but sitting there, I realized it wasn't occasional, it was constant. And it was always unfavorable comparisons. We eventually found our way to Aspen. Turned out we just needed to keep going straight for another 10 miles and we hit the main highway. But the rest of the weekend was tense and awkward. Every time I tried to enjoy something or make a suggestion, I found myself wondering if she was comparing it to something Adrian would have done better. When I grilled burgers on the hotel's patio, I wondered if she was thinking about how Adrian probably would have seasoned them differently. When I suggested a hike, I wondered if she was remembering better hikes she had taken with him. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being measured against some idealized version of her ex-boyfriend and consistently coming up short. The drive home yesterday was mostly silent. She kept trying to start normal conversations, but I was in my own head, thinking about our entire relationship and wondering if I had been blind to how she really felt about me. Am I overreacting? Was this just a stressed comment that I am reading too much into? Or is it as big a red flag as it feels like? The thing that is really bothering me is that when she said she wished he was there, it sounded so natural and automatic. Like that is genuinely what she was thinking in that moment. That her ex would have handled the situation better than her current boyfriend. What kind of future can you have with someone who is constantly measuring you against their past and finding you lacking? I care about her, but I am starting to feel like I am in a relationship with two people, Lydia and the ghost of Adrian, and I am losing the competition to someone who isn't even here. I am really struggling with whether this is something we can work through, or if it is a fundamental incompatibility. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has responded so far. Reading your comments is helping me realize this might be more of a pattern than I wanted to admit. Edit 2. A few people have asked. Yes, she knows these comparisons bother me. I have brought it up before, and she always says she doesn't mean anything by it. But it keeps happening. Update 1. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. The overwhelming consensus was that this wasn't normal behavior and I wasn't overreacting. A lot of you shared similar experiences, and reading them helped me realize I needed to address this head on. I spent 2 days thinking about all the comments and advice. The more I reflected on our relationship, the more I started noticing a pattern I had been unconsciously ignoring. Lydia brings up Adrian constantly. Not just in crisis situations, but in everyday conversations. Adrian and I saw this movie, and he had such interesting thoughts about it. Adrian was really into this type of music. Adrian used to make this dish really well. It is like he is a constant presence in our relationship. This idealized figure who apparently excelled at everything I do adequately. I decided I needed to have a serious conversation with her about it. Not in the heat of the moment, like on our trip, but a calm, honest discussion about how her constant comparisons were affecting me and our relationship. Last night, I went over to her apartment with the intention of laying everything out. I had prepared what I wanted to say, that I felt like I was competing with someone who wasn't even there. That the comparisons made me feel inadequate and unappreciated, and that I needed her to understand how damaging this was to our relationship. I started by explaining how her comment during our trip had affected me. When you said you wished Adrian was there instead of me, it really hurt. It made me feel like you don't value what I bring to our relationship. Her immediate response was defensive. I already told you I didn't mean it like that. You are being way too sensitive about this. But it is not just that comment, I said. You bring up Adrian constantly. You compare everything I do to things he did. I feel like I am in a relationship with both of you, and I am always losing the comparison. That is when she got really defensive. That is ridiculous. I barely mention him, and when I do, it is just normal conversation. Everyone talks about their past relationship sometimes. Lydia, you mentioned him 4 times, just during dinner last Tuesday. You compared the restaurant I chose to one he used to take you to, said he would have ordered wine instead of beer, mentioned how he always knew how to talk to waiters, and brought up some inside joke you had with him. That is not normal conversation. She looked surprised, like she genuinely hadn't realized she was doing it that much. I don't. I mean, maybe I mention him sometimes, but it is not like I am trying to hurt you. But you are hurting me, I said. Every time you tell me how Adrian would have done something better, or bring up some way he was superior to me, it makes me feel like you are settling for me because you cannot have him. That is when she said something that made my blood run cold. Well, maybe if you stepped up more, I wouldn't need to think about how Adrian handled things. The room went completely silent. I just stared at her, processing what she had just said. Did you just tell me that your constant comparisons to your ex are my fault because I don't measure up to him? She realized immediately that she had crossed a line. No, that is not. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. You just told me that if I was more like Adrian, you wouldn't need to constantly wish he was here instead of me. She started backtracking frantically. Caleb, no, I love you. I don't wish he was here instead of you. I was just frustrated and said something stupid, but it was too late. She had revealed what she really thought, that I was a disappointing substitute for someone she actually wanted to be with. If Adrian is so much better than me at everything, I said, standing up to leave, why aren't you with him? Because we broke up. It didn't work out between us. But you wish it had. She couldn't answer that. The silence told me everything I needed to know. I think I need some space to think about this. I said, Caleb, please don't leave. We can work through this. I will try to stop mentioning him so much. It is not about mentioning him, I said. It is about the fact that you are still emotionally involved with someone who isn't here. I cannot compete with a memory, and I shouldn't have to. I left her apartment with her calling after me, promising to change, begging me to stay and talk it through, but I had heard enough. The woman I thought loved me had basically admitted that she saw me as an inferior replacement for someone else. I have been staying at my buddy Mike's place for the past 2 days, thinking everything through. She has sent about 30 texts alternating between apologies, explanations, and accusations that I am being unreasonable. The more distance I get, the clearer it becomes that this relationship was doomed from the start. You cannot build something real with someone who is constantly measuring you against their past and finding you lacking. I deserve to be with someone who chooses me because they want me, not because they are settling for me while wishing they could have someone else. I am planning to officially end things this weekend. I cannot be in a relationship where I am always going to be second choice to a ghost. Edit. A lot of people are asking if she ever tried to contact Adrian during our relationship. I don't know, and honestly, it doesn't matter. The emotional unavailability and constant comparisons were enough. Edit 2. To those saying I should have tried harder to make it work, you cannot love someone into appreciating you. If she wanted to be with me, she wouldn't constantly be wishing I was someone else. Update 2. I officially ended things with Lydia yesterday, and her response to the breakup revealed even more about her true feelings than I expected. I went to her apartment Saturday afternoon planning to have a calm, mature conversation about ending our relationship. I had thought through what I wanted to say, that I couldn't be in a relationship where I was constantly being compared to someone else, and that we both deserved to be with people who genuinely wanted to be with them. She answered the door looking like she hadn't slept much, and immediately started talking before I could say anything. Caleb, I am so glad you are here. I have been thinking about everything you said, and you are right. I have been unfair to you. I talked to my sister about it, and she helped me realize that I was using Adrian as a coping mechanism when I get stressed. Instead of appreciating what you bring to our relationship, it sounded rehearsed, like she had been practicing it, but I could see she was genuinely upset and trying to fix things. I have made a list of all the ways you are better than Adrian, she continued, pulling out her phone. You are more patient with me when I am anxious. You are better at communicating. You actually listen when I talk about work problems instead of just trying to fix them. You are more affectionate. You remember little things that matter to me. Hearing her compare me to him again, even positively, just reinforced why I needed to leave. Lydia, the fact that you made a list comparing me to your ex proves you are still thinking about our relationship in terms of him. I don't want to be better than Adrian or worse than Adrian. I want to be with someone who isn't thinking about Adrian at all. Her face fell. But I can change. I can stop bringing him up. It is not about changing, I said. It is about the fact that you are still emotionally connected to someone from your past in a way that doesn't leave room for a real relationship with me. That is when she started crying. He broke my heart, Caleb. He left me for someone else. I know I compare you to him, but it is because I am scared of getting hurt again. So you have been keeping me at arm's length this whole time, measuring me against him to protect yourself? I guess. Yes. Maybe. I don't know. At least she was being honest now. That is not a relationship, Lydia. That is me auditioning for the role of being your boyfriend while you decide if I am good enough to replace someone who is already gone. She got quiet for a long time, then said something that broke my heart. I do love you. But you are right. I think part of me was hoping you would be so much better than him that it would prove I was better off without him. There it was. The truth I had been sensing but hadn't wanted to acknowledge. I wasn't her boyfriend. I was her attempt to win an imaginary competition with her ex. That is not love, Lydia. That is revenge. I told her we were done, that I needed to be with someone who wanted to build a future with me, not someone who wanted me to validate their past. She begged me to reconsider, promised she would stop mentioning Adrian entirely, said she'd even block him on social media so she wasn't tempted to check up on him. But the damage was done. She had revealed that our entire relationship had been built on the foundation of her trying to get over someone else, with me as the unwitting participant in her healing process. I left her apartment feeling sad but also relieved, like I had been carrying a weight I didn't realize was there. The most telling thing, as I was walking to my car, she called after me one last time, Adrian never would have given up on me like this. Even in the moment I was breaking up with her for constantly comparing me to him, she couldn't help but do it one more time. I turned around and said, "Then maybe you should call him." I drove away and haven't looked back. I have gotten a few texts from her over the past day, but they are mostly just variations of the same thing. That she made a mistake. That she realizes now how good I was to her. That she wants another chance. But I am not interested in being someone's consolation prize or their method of getting over someone else. I deserve to be someone's first choice, not their backup plan. To anyone reading this who feels like they are competing with their partner's ex, you shouldn't have to. If someone is truly ready to be with you, their past relationships will be exactly that, in the past. If they are still emotionally invested in someone who is gone, they are not available for something real with you. Don't waste your time trying to be better than someone else's memory. Find someone who wants to make new memories with you instead. Edit. Several people have asked if I think she will try to get back together with Adrian now. Honestly, I don't care. That is her journey to figure out, not mine. Edit 2. To the people saying her final comment was just her being emotional, and I shouldn't read too much into it. When people are emotional, they often say what they really think. The fact that, even while losing me, she was still thinking about him tells you everything you need to know. Final update: it has been 3 months since I ended things with Lydia, and several people have been asking for a final update on how everything turned out. The honest answer is, I am doing well. I have been focusing on work, spending more time with friends I had neglected during the relationship, and rediscovering hobbies that got pushed aside. I started rock climbing again. Something I used to love but stopped doing because Lydia always found reasons why we couldn't go. Too dangerous, too expensive, too time-consuming. I am not seeing anyone new yet, and that is intentional. I realized I need to understand why I stayed in a relationship where I felt inadequate for so long before I try to build something with someone else. As for Lydia, I have heard bits and pieces through mutual acquaintances, but nothing dramatic. She is still working at the same design firm, still living in the same apartment. From what I understand, she is dating someone new, though I don't know any details and don't want to. The most interesting thing happened about a month ago when I ran into her at the grocery store. It was the first time we had seen each other since the breakup. She looked good, put together, healthy, like she was doing fine without me. We exchanged polite hellos, and there was this moment where we both stood there not knowing what to say. Finally, she spoke up. "Caleb, I have been thinking a lot about what you said, about the comparing thing. I think you might have been right." I told her I appreciated her saying that, but I wasn't looking to relitigate our relationship. "No, I know," she said. "I just wanted you to know that I have been working on it, in therapy trying to understand why I do that." She looked like she wanted to say more, but I wished her well and moved on. The whole interaction lasted maybe 2 minutes. What struck me wasn't any dramatic revelation or vindication. It was how ordinary it felt. This woman who had consumed so much of my emotional energy for nearly a year was just another person buying groceries. The spell was completely broken. The truth is, Lydia isn't a terrible person. She is just someone who wasn't emotionally available for the kind of relationship I wanted. Her constant comparisons to Adrian weren't necessarily malicious. They were probably her way of trying to process her own feelings and insecurities. But understanding why someone hurts you doesn't mean you have to accept being hurt. That moment on the mountain road when she said, "I wish Adrian was here," will probably stick with me forever. Not because it was the most painful thing anyone's ever said to me, but because it was so revealing. In a moment of stress, when her guard was down, she told me exactly what she was thinking. That someone else would be better suited for the situation than me. That is not love. That is not partnership. That is tolerating someone while wishing they were someone else. I deserved better than that. Looking back, I am actually glad she said it. If she had kept those feelings hidden, I might have wasted years trying to measure up to someone who wasn't even there. Instead, one honest moment of stress revealed the fundamental problem with our relationship and gave me the clarity I needed to walk away. Edit. A few people have asked if I regret the relationship or consider it wasted time. I don't. It taught me a lot about what I need in a partnership and what I will not accept. That is valuable, even if it was painful. Edit 2. For those asking about her therapy comment, I hope it is helping her. Everyone deserves to work through their issues. That doesn't change the fact that I couldn't be her practice partner while she figured herself out.